Stop letting the inner critic destroy your life. Your self-doubt is a lie. Zen's secret. The voice is a ghost. Watch now for the 3 steps to silence it forever. Part 1. The Saboteur in your head. Welcome back to Echoes of Life. Take a moment and consider the harshest voice you've ever heard. It's not your boss, not a mean teacher, and not an angry partner. It's the voice in your own head, the inner critic. This voice is the master of self-doubt, the architect of procrastination, and the relentless guardian of your deepest fears. It whispers, "You're not good enough, you'll fail, and everyone else knows more." This constant, toxic internal commentary silently drains your confidence, cripples your creativity, and prevents you from even starting the things you want to achieve. For many, this inner dialogue is the single greatest obstacle to living a free and purposeful life. The Zen masters called this phenomenon the monkey mind. But we can go deeper. We mistake this voice, this chaotic stream of judgment and fear, for our true self. We think, "I am a person full of doubt," when in reality, we are simply listening to a dysfunctional, internal recording. The Zen tradition offers a radical and liberating truth known as Anatta, or not self, Vonaga. This teaching is not philosophical. It is psychological warfare against the inner critic. The secret is simple. That voice is not you. It is merely a program, a collection of past fears, societal pressures, and old traumas running on a loop. You are the listener, not the voice itself. Today, we will use this Zen secret to finally silence the saboteur. We will give you a 3-step guide to detach from the inner critic, dismantle its power, and unlock a state of profound, unshakable self-acceptance. It's time to stop fighting the voice and start recognizing it for the powerless ghost that it is. Part 2. The inner critic is a ghost. To understand how to silence the critic, you must understand its true Zen nature, the foundation of the not self teaching states that nothing about you is fixed or permanent, not your emotions, not your body, and critically, not your thoughts or opinions about yourself. The inner critic operates by creating a powerful illusion of self. It makes you believe it is the authority, the truthful, central voice of your identity. But let's expose this illusion. The critic is a recording. The negative thoughts are almost always echoes of past conditioning, a parent's harsh critique, a childhood failure, a bully's words. It is not generating present truth. It is replaying past pain. The critic is externalized fear. It sounds like a judge, but it is actually a flawed, desperate protector. It criticizes you harshly now in the hope that you won't be hurt by external failure later. It's a clumsy, anxiety-driven defense mechanism. The critic is obsessed with perfection. It functions because you're attached to a rigid, impossible image of who you should be. Any deviation from this perfect image triggers the attack. The Zen insight is this: you cannot fight a ghost. If you argue with the inner critic, "No, I am not lazy," is you validate its existence and give it power. The only way to win is to recognize that the voice has no true, permanent self-nature. It is a fleeting mental formation, a vapor, a ghost. Once you recognize the voice as a separate, unreliable entity that is not you, its arguments lose all psychological weight. The first step to silence is separation. Part 3. Step 1. The observer role. The first step in dismantling the critic's power is to consciously step out of the role of the victim and into the role of the observer. This is a core technique borrowed directly from mindful meditation. When the inner critic strikes, it attempts to pull you into the thought, to make you become the thought. I am a failure. You must immediately and mentally take a step back and say, I am the one noticing this thought. The labeling technique, the Zen separation. Stop. The moment you hear the negative voice, stop whatever you're doing. The pause button from our samsara practice. Externalize. Physically or mentally, point to the voice as if it were outside of you. Say, that is the critic. Or, there goes the judgment again. Label. Give the thought a generic, boring label. If the thought is, this work is terrible, simply label it, thinking. If it's, you look bad, label it, judgment. Why does this work? Because labeling is an act of separation. When you say, I am angry, you become the anger. But when you say, I am observing the emotion of anger, you create a clean, non-judgmental distance. You are the sky. The thought is merely weather passing through. By consistently labeling the inner critic's comments, you strip away their perceived reality. You are training your mind to recognize that the critic's pronouncements are just mental events, no more important than the sound of a passing car. This separation is the foundation of the silent master. Part 4. Step 2. The Radical Reframe. Once you've successfully stepped into the observer role, you can employ Step 2, the Radical Reframe. We must change the core energy of the inner critic from a destructive force into a gentle, compassionate motivator. The inner critic often masquerades as a tool for perfection. It tells you, if I stop criticizing, I'll become lazy. This is another lie. True motivation comes not from shame and fear, but from the self-compassion. The self-compassion pivot technique. 1. Identify the underlying pain. When the critic says, you are a terrible writer, notice the underlying emotion. Fear of rejection. Acknowledge and validate. Do not argue with the thought. Instead, gently acknowledge the pain. Say to yourself, I hear you, inner critic. I know you're afraid this writing won't be good enough, and I acknowledge that fear. This is validation, not agreement. Pivot to action. Immediately shift the energy from critique to action rooted in kindness. Instead of, you must write a perfect chapter right now, pivot to, I am going to support myself by writing just the first 5 lines, knowing that I can correct them later. This pivot is crucial. You transform the critic's voice from a paralyzing, condemning statement into a compassionate starting point. You use the energy of the fear, but you redirect the intent toward self-support by choosing to respond with kindness and small, manageable action. You starve the critic of the drama and shame it needs to survive, replacing it with the quiet confidence of consistent self-care. Part 5. Step 3. The empty chair. Dialogue. Our third and most powerful step is the ultimate Zen move, to fully externalize and neutralize the critic, the empty chair dialogue. This technique is simple, but requires active imagination and sincerity. Remember, the critic's power lies in its invisibility. It operates in the shadows of your mind. We must bring it into the light. The empty chair technique. Externalize the critic. Place an empty chair directly in front of you. Imagine the inner critic, your personal saboteur, sitting in that chair. Give it a name, a form, whatever makes it real to you. Give it the mic, the catharsis. Sit in your original seat and allow the critic, the imaginary form in the chair, to say every single negative thing it needs to say about you. You listen, but you do not respond. Let the torrent of judgment flow for 30 seconds. The role switch, the Zen shock. After the critic finishes, get up. Go sit in the empty chair, the critic's seat. Now, you become the inner critic and repeat the exact harsh words you just heard, but with full physical embodiment. As you speak the words out loud, you will feel the awkwardness, the irrationality, and the sheer emptiness of the statements. Return to self. Return to your original seat. Now, respond to the critic in the empty chair, not with defense, but with calm, factual self-acceptance. I hear that you think I am lazy. However, yesterday, I completed X and Y. I am a person in progress. By forcing the inner critic to occupy a separate physical space, you immediately recognize it as not self, an entity separate from your true consciousness. The moment you embody the ridiculousness of the criticism in the empty chair, its power over your internal life is instantly severed. This is the Zen master's way of dissolving the phantom by simply shining a spotlight on it. Part 6. The root of the critic. The need to be perfect to achieve lasting silence. We must address the root cause of the inner critic, the attachment to perfection. The critic's main function is to enforce an impossible, idealized standard. It screams when you make a mistake, because the mistake threatens the fragile image of the perfect you that your ego is desperate to maintain. This desperate need for perfection is, ironically, the primary source of misery and your self-doubt. The Zen view counters this attachment with the concept of wabi-sabi, the beauty of imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. A chipped teacup, a slightly crooked fence. These things are beautiful because they are real, not because they are flawless. Applying wabi-sabi to self-acceptance. Embrace the flaws. Start seeing your own flaws, past mistakes, and quirks not as defects to be corrected, but as unique texture. That makes your story real and valuable. Your past struggles are the chips and cracks that define your strength. the good enough mantra. When the critic starts a tirade about a task being imperfect, deliberately counter it with the mantra, "It is good enough. I am good enough for now." This phrase is a powerful act of surrender to the reality of the present moment, dissolving the critic's control over your behavior. Action over image. Shift your focus from being a perfect person to doing small, honest actions. Focus on the effort, not the impossible outcome. This detachment from the perfect image starves the inner critic of its very purpose. By embracing your inherent, imperfect reality, you destroy the foundation upon which the inner critic builds its power. Self-acceptance is the ultimate act of Zen rebellion. Part 7. The Silent State. Living from non-self. What is life like when you are successfully practicing the Shmurtha 3 steps and the inner critic has been neutralized? You transition from living from the voice of judgment to living from the silent state, the pure, spacious awareness that exists between the thoughts. This is where your true self resides. This state brings about quiet confidence. Unlike ego-driven confidence, which relies on external validation and perfect performance, quiet confidence is based on unconditional self-acceptance. Since you realize the judgment is not you, your self-worth is no longer conditional on your performance. You know you are inherently worthy, regardless of external success or failure. Resilience to external criticism. When someone criticizes you externally, the critic is already neutralized internally. You can simply observe the external critique without the internal voice amplifying and validating it. You listen factually, not emotionally. Freedom to act. The paralysis caused by self-doubt vanishes, since failure is no longer a catastrophic blow to your perfect image. You are free to try, free to fail, and free to learn. You are liberated from the need for perfection and can engage in life fully. The mastery of the silent state is not about achieving perfect thought control. It is about achieving perfect separation from the thoughts. By understanding the deep truth of not self, you unlock a permanent, stable peace that the relentless, judging voice can never shatter. You become the silent master of your own mind. Part 8. Final Echoes. Choose your voice. We have journeyed through the radical Zen secret to overcoming the greatest barrier to your potential, the inner critic. You now possess the powerful knowledge that voice is not you. It is a mere ghost of the past. You have the 3-step guide to master the silence, the observer role, labeling the voice to create separation, the radical reframe, pivoting criticism into compassionate action, the empty chair, externalizing the voice to expose its irrationality. Your job now is simple: to stop allowing the ghost to dictate your reality. You are the awareness that observes the script, not the script itself. Every time the voice strikes, you have the opportunity to practice separation and choose the silent master over the saboteur. Embrace this final challenge. Today, when the inner critic delivers its first insult, Do not argue. Immediately apply. Step 1. The labeling technique. Say to yourself, the critic is talking again. Smile and let the thought pass, knowing you are the silent, unassailable observer. Thank you for joining us on Echoes of Life. If the promise of silencing self-doubt and finding genuine self-acceptance resonated with your spirit, subscribe to our channel and join our community dedicated to applying Zen's powerful psychological tools to find peace and quiet confidence in the modern world. Like this video to help the algorithm share this essential secret for self-doubt with others who are fighting the silent battle within. And finally, share this with one friend who you know is tired of being their own worst enemy. Gift them the tool of silence. Until our next deep dive into ancient wisdom, may your confidence be quiet and your spirit be free from all doubt.